Welcome to Covers' Puck Props with Jingles and Coco. I'm Covers betting analyst Josh Ingles. He's 14-year NHL vet Carlo Colaiacovo, who is absolutely in love with his Bills despite big
Stop.
wins. Oh, not
You
allowed to
know,
talk.
I wanted to come on with a good mood, smile, talk
Win.
about some
It's a
talk
win.
about some hockey bets we can win, and you got to throw a Bills
No,
jab at
it's a
me. Come on,
win.
bro.
It's a win. Was that not the
No.
worst drive in the history of drives, though? Baker Mayfield's 10-minute 41.
No. It was the best drive for me because
Oh, garbage time.
I have Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans as my fantasy players,
Oh,
and
God.
that connection for
Yeah.
the touchdown in garbage time was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
appreciate everybody tuning in to Carlos' excitement for his fantasy team. Hey, I'll give you credit. You were on Hughes 1.5 shots or 1.5 points on Wednesday. That cash, we got that at plus 105. It's now like minus 110. Market's correcting itself. And the Ovi shots that you got at minus 120, that's down to about minus 155, minus 160. So you got ahead of some market movement. So key moves there. Friday slate. Let's get right to it. All odds coming via Sports Interaction. Chicago, Vegas. You're like, why are you betting Tyler Johnson under 1.5 shots on goal plus 115? Tell me about it. Chicago generating the 4th fewest shots on goal at even strength. Dead last in shot for percentage. They're getting outshot and they're not getting shots, basically, said say. Vegas, elite D. They're without bodies, but they know how to play without those defensemen. They've allowed under 30 in 5 of their last 6. Now, Johnson's on the top line with Bedard, but he's not shooting. He's under two shots on goal in 5 of his last 6. 10th on the team in shots on goal in 60. He misses the net at a higher than 50% rate. But why in the hell does Luke Richardson have Nick Foligno and Tyler Johnson on this top line when they've been shut out in 2 of their last 3? Please tell me some things are changing because Bedard needs some talent around him.
Well, I think everything you're seeing in Chicago is exactly how I imagine this whole situation playing out this season, where a lot of hype, a lot of buzz around Connor Bedard because look, he is the real deal. He is a prospect that people should get excited about. But my concern with the Chicago Blackhawks going into the season is
talent.
Who is he going to play with? And we're seeing it rear its ugly head right now. I mean, Tyler Johnson and Nick Foligno playing alongside Connor Bedard. I mean, what are we doing? Are we rewinding the clock 5, 6, 7 years ago when these guys were in the prime of their careers? So this is not a surprise to me that Chicago is struggling the way that it is, that Bedard isn't lighting up the nets like most people predicted them to, because you could be great as an individual, but in hockey and more than any other sport, you got to have a good team around you to help supplement some of that offense and make the load that's expected from you a lot easier. And I don't see it getting better in Chicago if they can't find a way to bring in better players.
No, and then you could see someone like Johnson just trying to feed Bedard, just trying to get out of this funk, taking shots away from him. Taylor Hall's on IR. There's just not a lot to like about Chicago in this matchup, and that's why Vegas is a massive favorite.
And it's not just about what not to like about Chicago. It's what to like about everything Vegas is doing right now. I mean, to think that a team that won a Stanley Cup last year has started off the season as unbelievably good as Vegas has, where they literally look unstoppable. You show up to a night and you want to play a certain way, they've got it in their back pocket. You want to play a checking game, they can check. You want to play an offensive game, they can check. You want to play a defensive game, they can play defense. I don't know what type of game they expect from Chicago tonight, but they played them last week and they clearly didn't make it a factor. So this is going to be an ugly one tonight for Chicago in Vegas.
All right. Tyler Johnson under 1.5 shots on goal plus 115. I'm happy if he stays on that top line because that's his production. He hasn't even been there, but there's a chance that he doesn't finish on that top line and he's not getting PP time. So let's go. Kings, Yotes. We just saw this one Wednesday. The Kings kind of ran away with it, and now there wasn't really a correction. So I'm back on the Kings 3-way money line plus 115. I think the Kings, much like Philly in the East, I mean, Philly's actually getting some credit now, are very, Torts 50-1. Jack Adams Award. It's like
You're loving that.
no,
You're loving that.
Yeah, he's
it's legit. It's legit.
I know, but I think the Kings are underrated in the same sense that Philly kind of was last week. The Kings have like a 3.5 goals against average. That's the only thing keeping them out with Copley and Talbot not being great. But this is a team that's keeping those chances down. They just haven't been getting goaltending, which should probably come versus Arizona. They just won 6-3. They were minus 180. Sorry, minus 135 at home, and now they're minus 180. So that's about right for 20 to 25 points. But there was no correction, which I think there should be. So I think there's still some value here. Are the Kings a top 5 team in the West? You got Vegas, you got Colorado, you got Dallas. Are they in the next tier?
Yeah, absolutely they are. They might even be competing for that top tier, as what you just mentioned. My concern coming into the season with LA was their goaltending situation. I know Phoenix Copley was, they've got the goalie that saved their season last year until they acquired Korpisalo at the deadline. Because, Jonathan Quick was just, playing it to his age. And they signed Cam Talbot. And Cam Talbot's not a goalie that really excites me. He's had a couple of stints as a starter in other places and has not really been able to, take a grasp on those situations. So coming into an LA, a team that, last year, if they get by Edmonton in that first round, who's to say how far they could have gone, and maybe it's them and Vegas competing for, the Stanley Cup en route. I like what LA is, what they did in the offseason. They added more firepower, more punch to their lineup with Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I think a lot of people are underestimating them or at least overlooking them, because in the West, you immediately think of Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado.
Maybe not so much Edmonton right now.
Well, I'm saying coming in. People were talking about that. And maybe not so much Edmonton at all right now, because man, they got some ugly stuff going on over there. So, look, I'm very high on Arizona. I think they're a very underappreciated team. I think they're going to catch a lot of team by surprise this year. But it's always tough when you play a team in a back-to-back situation, because in a situation like LA, maybe you feel too good about yourself. But LA, the good thing they got going for them is they can score, and they can score in bunches, and it's just a matter of whether or not Arizona can keep up to that. And, with the value that you found, clearly you don't think it's possible.
Kopitar, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Philip Deneau down the middle, 1, 2, 3 is pretty dirty. Like,
very.
Right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if down the middle another team can beat that. That's super impressive, and they're doing it without Victor Arvidsson too. So, I mean, there's other guys like Trevor Moore's a very underrated winger who can score. I don't know. There's a lot to like about them, and it's not a bash on Arizona, who I think is better this year than last year, of course. But I mean, they just if they can get some goaltending with how they're keeping shots away, keeping high danger chances off, I think LA is a great spot here. And let's go to I'm back to back here on some funny shot props that are big plus money that you're like, why the hell are you betting on Ilya Mikheyev over 2.5 shots on goal? Much like Johnson, but I mean, it's these no-name guys that probably hold the most value when it comes to pricing. So Mikheyev over 2.5 shots on goal, plus 135. St. Louis at Vancouver. Just the third game of the season for Mikheyev. 4 shots on goal in both of those games. He leads his team in shot attempts per 60 and shots on goal per 60. And he's playing on the top line with Pettersson and Kuzmenko. He just slides in there. He's been playing well. Points in each game went from 13 minutes to 15 minutes. And I know you're a proponent of it's about that third or fourth game that you come back where you get your legs. And for a guy with his speed, do you think Mikheyev can actually contribute on this top line, especially with Pettersson shooting a little less than he was last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the reason why is he can drive on the wing with his speed, right? That's one of his strong assets to his game. And, every player is different, but you're right with the range. It usually takes somewhere between 3 and 5 games before you actually start feeling like yourself again. And for Mikheyev, I actually really like this one because Vancouver is a team that has been playing really, really well, to start the season, especially under Coach Tocchet, where you clearly see the demand that he expects from his players and the type of hockey he expects his player to play. And, this team's going to be led by mostly their top line in what Pedersen and Kuzmenko and even JT Miller can bring. So, on the other side of it is I look at St. Louis coming off a very impressive win last night in Calgary. This is always a tough back-to-back to go from Alberta to British Columbia on back-to-back nights because, there is a little bit of a time clock adjustment as well too. But clearly there's a lot that favors Vancouver in this situation. And Hofer played yesterday for St. Louis, got a shutout. I can't imagine he'll play tonight. It'll probably be Binnington. So, considering he's a guy that's gotten into that shot mode mentality in his couple of games back, I can't imagine that's going to change, in tonight's game where they have a very favorable schedule spot in their advantage.
Yeah, 12 shot attempts in those two games, 13 minutes, 15 minutes. Those aren't big minutes, but getting averaging 6 shot attempts per game is something pretty special there. St. Louis, like I said, back-to-back road game, allowing 33.8 shots per 60 at 5-on-5. That's the 5th worst mark, and they rank 31st in unblocked shot attempts for percentage. So they're giving up a lot of shots and they're not creating much. So like Vancouver to control the offensive pace here, Mikheyev, that's a good price at plus 135. And another one, here's an angle that I really like, especially when you watch that Carolina game last night. Jordan Martinook over 2.5 shots on goal, plus 140, more plus money. Carolina grinded out that game last night, but it came at a cost. They gave absolutely massive minutes. Brind'Amour let Sebastian Aho play for 24 minutes. I would assume with this game script, I think it's safe to say San Jose is the worst team in the league.
Oh my goodness.
But in their own tier. It's not like it was last year. San Jose is just awful. So
I joked this morning that they might not even win 5 games this year. That's how bad it is in San Jose. It's ugly. It's just, I can't believe that's an NHL team.
Yeah, they're a joke. So the problem here with this is game script. We talk about game script, especially on the back-to-back with heavy minutes. I don't expect Rob Brind'Amour to be throwing his top line out there in the third period with Carolina up 3 or 4 goals after 25 minutes last night. So is that an actual thing? Can we expect a breather from that top 6 and maybe that bottom 6 where Martinook finds himself getting a little more time?
Well, that's such an important term that I've learned working for you that actually, evaluates these type of situations. And you use the term game script because it's so true. I mean, Carolina probably looked at that game yesterday and said to themselves, okay, we just came back off of a 7-game road trip. We play back-to-back games. We've got the harder of the opponent in game 1. We got to find a way to get the result we need in this one. Because if we do, we could cap off a really good 2-game stretch here, knowing that, you never want to take your opponent lightly, but let's be honest. They're probably taking San Jose a little bit lightly because they know they don't meet the same level of competition that they had with Seattle last night. So that's probably why you saw, Rob Brind'Amour ride some of his top players. And for the most part in that game, they were trailing too. So let's not forget about that aspect. And they went to overtime as well. So I think Carolina has always been known as a team that does roll 4 lines, that does use specific role players. And I think tonight is a good chance to make up, some of those other, or at least not make up, but take advantage of some of those other opportunities where you could give guys a little bit of added rest. Because again, remember, they're coming off a 7-game road trip, right? So you're going into a back-to-back situation. Probably want to load manage some of your players, and there's a good chance to see what some of your bottom 6 players are capable of doing with more opportunities. So yeah, good flyer here on a guy Martinook who does kill penalties too, and might find himself up ice taking a couple of those shorthanded shots on goal.
The freebies that you want to put center mass and get that face off.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is a very good value play based on just strictly game script as you presented.
So the only reason he's priced like this is just because he doesn't get big minutes. He leads all Carolina forwards in shot attempts per 60, and the increase in possible ice time is not priced in here. So that's why I like this at plus 140. And then this is where Carlo gets this is where he does his thing, just like he did it on Wednesday. Carolina 3-way money line, Vegas 3-way money line parlay plus 110. We already mentioned we already crapped on San Jose and we already crapped on Chicago.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the handicap. But I mean, Carolina is a team that should be doing better than it is. They got a lot of momentum last night. That game was pretty wild. They were down 2-0 early. They got one late in the first, and then that game stayed 2-1
for a long
all
time,
the way till late until they tied it up and then eventually won in overtime. So there's a lot of momentum riding in that. You think the Faves roll tonight? As simple as that?
Yeah, I do. And that's the thing. The tricky thing about, looking at these big favorites is there really is no value to bet them straight up, and there really is no value to put them in a parlay. So what we look at here is putting them in a parlay where they win in regulation to get you some plus money on your bet. Because you look at the matchup, I mean, I don't see Vegas losing to Chicago, and I don't see Carolina losing to San Jose. Can it happen? Yes, it absolutely can happen. It's hockey. You play the games. That's what normally happens when you do play the game. But, you're trying to find some value in your bet here. Both teams should win in regulation. And if they do, you profit pretty good. I mean, Chicago Bears on the comments line says that he likes Vegas on the puck line as well. Yeah, it seems like a very, a bet that stands out for sure. I definitely would. I would never lay anything on big money lines. You'd always try to find the value in the puck line or even just in regulation. So these are two good teams that are playing two very bad teams that could profit you a little bit of money.
The two worst teams in expected goal for percentages. So basically, expected goal for percentage is expected goals for, expected goals against, and the differential. So expected goal differential. These are the two worst teams in Chicago and San Jose. And San Jose is, like you said, the over-under's 5.5 wins on the season. They are 0-6-1. And Chicago is without.
Could you imagine a team in the NHL plays 82 games and only wins 5? Yikes. Awesome. They should be relegated if that happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Bring in the Chicklets boys up for 30-second team. But no, it's that's where we are today. So let's recap a big one. So we lost the Minnesota-Washington over 6. That moved to 6.5. Wanted the 6.
It's still a good play if you ask me. Yeah. Right? Depends on if you want to take a chance on the hook.
Yeah, 100%. I do like that. Minnesota is just a great over team right now, and Washington has found that offense. But we didn't put that one in. Instead, we went Tyler Johnson under 1.5 shots plus 115. Hopefully he gets relegated off that top line as he should. The Kings 3-way money line plus 115. Hopefully it's the same production that they had versus Phoenix, Arizona. Wow, I haven't done that in a long time. For Wednesday, and then we went with some great value on these shot on goal plays. Ilya Mikheyev over 2.5 shots on goal plus one. Ilya Mikheyev over 2.5 shots on goal plus 135. There's producer Mick helping me out. Jordan Martinook over 2.5 shots on goal plus 140. Expecting some better minutes with those guys. And then Carlos' little 3-way money line parlay. Carolina, Vegas plus 110 together. That's what we got here for Friday. Been profitable on the season. Let's keep it going into the weekend. We'll see you guys tomorrow. 10:30 a.m. live release time. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is NHL Puck Props, brought to you by Sports Interaction. Lead us out, pal.
Ciao.